Welcome to Billy and Stitch, guys. Today I'm going to be installing new solar panels on my bore shed. I thought I'd take you along for the ride. I've got a 200 watt 12 volt panel on there at the moment, and it's been good so far, but it's just not keeping up with the amount of water that we need. So I'm going to upgrade it to two 200 watt panels, but they're 24 volt panels. So I'm just going to hook the two panels up in parallel and run the cables down into the shed. But the main reason I'm going to show you the video today is I'll show you how I'm going to mount them up. What I'm going to use is 50 by 50 aluminium, and that's pretty much the guts of the mounting system I'm using. The rest of it's pretty much just screws and bolts and a couple of washers and that sort of thing. But yeah, I sort of come up with this method myself. You know, I could go out and buy racking and stuff like that, but it's just going to be a lot easier and cheaper just to use what I've got lying around. So I've got this piece of, this is 2.5 meters, but I've worked out I'll probably only need to use about maybe, well, under 2 meters I'll need to mount two panels. So come with me and let's get it done. Alright, so I've just got all the cutting out of the way. I've used my my sliding miter saw just to cut the aluminium. It's got an aluminium wood blade in it. It's very important to remember if you're cutting aluminium in these saws, just to be really careful, because if it bites and picks up, it'll throw the job out, and it could cut your hands off and all sorts of things. So what I've done is I've cut 6 lengths at 200 mil. I've got 4 lengths at 80 and 2 lengths at 100. Righto, these are the panels I'm going to be using. Like I said, they're 24 volt, 200 watt, so they're pretty big sort of panel. But that's what I'm chasing. Of course, they're the mono panels. You can always tell the mono because they've sort of got the diamonds. The polycrystalline panels, they don't have the diamonds, they've just got the straight lines. I was originally going to put these other panels all of these panels, I sort of bought them, you know, second hand when they come up in local sales online. I think I paid about maybe $200 for these two. These are 120 watt monocrystalline panels, second hand obviously. I was originally going to do this job with those, but these two other panels came up. These ones here, and they were $60 each, and they just came off someone's roof because they upgraded their system from, I think they said 3 kilowatts to 5 kilowatts. So there's nothing wrong with them. They're about 5 years old. $60 each. So $120 for 2 panels, $120 for 400 watts. You know, that's just over what, 25 cents a watt. Maybe it might work out to be about 30 cents a watt. So you can't get much cheaper than that. Righto, so this is the old panel. Like I said, it's a 200 watt. I bought it, it's just a Chinese panel I bought on eBay. Must be, 2 to 3 years ago now it's been up here. But it's served its purpose, you know, like it's pumped enough water for us. Up until now, our demands are growing, so we're just going to upgrade. The way I mounted it, it's sort of always bothered me a bit because I'll show you how I mounted it, but it's not really the right way to do it. I'll just go into the shed and show you what I've done. Oh, that's not going to work. In Australia, when you open up a shed like this, I haven't been in here for probably maybe 3 weeks or something, and it's in the bush. There's nothing, there's no structures, no people, nothing. So when you open up a shed like this in Australia, in the Australian bush, you got to be real careful because there could be any sort of thing in there. There could be snakes. I'll show you exactly what I mean right now. I've just seen one. Look at this. Can you see that there? Redback spider. I don't think these things will kill you, but they'd make you pretty crook if it bit you. Probably have to go to hospital and maybe, you know, I don't know if they give you an anti-venom or the doctor sucks a poison out. Either way, you don't want to get bitten by, you don't want to find out really, eh? So in here, when I come in, I just look around the rafters and everything, make sure there's no snakes curled up or, you know, big ugly looking spiders. Usually, you know, if you see little spiders like these ones here, I'll just try and get him on the camera. You know, there's these ones here. Oh, the door just slammed. Thought that redback was coming in for me. These things are everywhere. They're called daddy long legs, we call them. See, look, there's one there, there's one there. They're just like, you know, no one's scared of them. We pretty much think of them as ants. They don't hurt you. I have heard though that they're the most poisonous spider in the world, but they can't physically bite human beings, or if they did bite you, they don't have big enough fangs or whatever to get the poison into you. So if you ever come to Australia and you see one of these things, don't worry too much about it. You can pat them if you want to. They probably wouldn't like it, but you know, fellas like this here, this redback here, you got to watch him. So I'll probably go ahead and, well, I'll probably kill him, but for the sake of YouTube, I'll just tell you that I'm going to move him on. So what I did with this panel, getting back to the job at hand, I basically, if you see all those white dots, that's just silicone or Sikaflex or whatever you want to call it. So all I've done is basically just put the panel on top and then screwed up through the sheeting in the roof straight into the frame of the panel, which is, I'm not saying it's not structurally sound or anything like that. It's more the fact that it doesn't put an air gap underneath your panel. That panel is pretty much flush mounted with the roof. It's pretty much sitting straight on top of the roof and it's screwed straight into it. The reason that's not good is because you want the panel to stay as cool as possible. So mounting it up off the roof on a frame is the best way to do it, because you put an air gap between the panel and the roof so that the wind and the air can move underneath it and cool your panel down. So I've just come back from lunch. I've got all the brackets. I got all the brackets up just before lunch, and when I got back, I brought a hose back with me, and I've just given all the roof and all the shed and everything a hose out, just because I'm finished drilling into all the iron now. All I have to screw into now is aluminium. So it's a good idea to get rid of all. Well, you probably should get rid of all your swarf and everything from drilling your screws and drilling holes in your roof after you've finished. Just give it a hose down, or give it a blow off, or make sure you get rid of it all, because it'll actually rust and it'll stay in your roof and you'll never ever get it off. So I'll just show you what I've done here. Take out the ladder. So you can see there's 6 brackets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the middle ones there, you can see I've just put 3 screws on and fixed those bits of aluminium on to make a bit of a table or a shelf for the 2 panels to sit on, and a bolt goes down in between them with a washer on top, like a square washer. I'll show you those. A stainless steel bolt with a square washer, and that just sits, so the bolt goes in between the panels, and then the washer sits on the edge of each panel and clamps it down. The panel's just going to sit on this table and that table, and then just on the edges of those 2 there. So I'll just slide it into place. What's going to happen on the edges? So I've got my bracket sticking out just there. So the 80mm pieces that I cut out, they're just going to sit up against that bracket there. So the screws will go through, probably 2 screws through this bracket into the bracket that's on the roof, and then 2 screws into the frame for the solar panel. It should be strong as. Righto, I just moved the panel to the back for a bit, and I just drilled 2 holes in the two horizontal plates that are screwed on. That might be a better angle actually. See that? I've just put the aluminium angles back to back, 3 screws through it, and yeah. So I just measured between the end of this bracket and the end of that bracket, and exactly halfway through I drilled a hole. So that's where the bolt's going to go through. Another thing I'll add here, when you're putting washers on, it's basically common sense, but just want to make sure that they're not, whatever sort of mounting system you're using, you're not creating a shadow, because even if you get a shadow on part of, a cell on your solar panels, it's going to affect the whole row, and in turn that affects the whole panel, like the output of the whole panels. On the corners where I'm using these brackets, I've cut them so that they're the right height, so that they're flush with the top of the panel, so there's no way that they can cast a shadow over onto the cells. Alright, anytime you're plugging solar panels in or wiring them together or whatever, it's very, very important that you take all the loads, the possible loads off your solar panels before any connections are made, because these are, you know, these are DC voltages, but they're not just like 12-volt voltages like you find in your car and that sort of thing. They're a little bit higher. Like these panels will be putting out about 45 volts each at the moment. So it's important with high DC voltages, if you're plugging things in and pulling things out, it creates a big arc, like sort of like a welding arc. So it's important to make sure that there's no loads. So what I've done with mine, I've just disconnected the wires that go into the charge controller. Like realistically, I probably should tape them up so that they don't, you know, there's no chance they're going to touch together and arc out. Not that it matters too much, because you can short circuit a solar panel. They are capable of recirculating their own current, but you know, it's avoid it. You can always start fires with sparks and that sort of thing. And the other thing I'll add is I'm not actually using the MC4 connectors. I wouldn't recommend you do what I'm going to do unless you're confident with your connections and stuff like that. But I'm basically going to connect all the positives together, all the negatives together. Like I said earlier in the video, they're going to be hooked up in parallel. If they're going to be hooked up in series, you know, of course I could just plug these two in together and take my negative from here and my positive from here. But I want these hooked up in parallel, because the maximum voltage that I can put through my charge controller is actually the maximum open circuit voltage of these panels. So if I hooked them up in series, I'd actually get a little over 90 volts and it'd probably blow up my charge controller. So parallel connections the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut these MC4 connectors off, because I don't want to use them. I've got to do a raw connection somewhere anyway, whether I cut these off or use them. I've got to do raw connections anyway, so I figure I might as well do the raw connections up here and save money on MC4 connectors. Oh, look at the air gap under that now. That's probably, well, that'll be 50 mil off the top of the corrugated iron now, so that's giving me a good air gap. Okay, so I've got the brackets. On one side. I haven't done the other side yet, but it'll be the exact same on the other side. So I've just put two screws through the bracket into the bracket that's mounted onto the roof, and then 2 screws through the bracket into the solar panel. Both exactly the same, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. and they're sturdy as, not going anywhere, you know, strong as houses. Well, that looks much better. 2 panels mounted up off the roof, bit of an air gap under there, and I'm quite happy with the strength of the mounting system. Yeah, brilliant. So if you ever want to build or put your own solar panels up on the roof, you know, hopefully this will give you some ideas. Alright, thanks very much for watching. All the best.